Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Sophie Erber. Today, advisors to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are meeting to review the decision to pause that Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. This, of course, after those 6 reported cases of a rare blood clotting issue. The U.S. Surgeon General says the CDC and FDA will decide how to move forward in the next few days. But right now, they're focused on restoring American confidence in the vaccine. Anna Warnicki has the latest from Washington in our top story at 5.
U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy says the CDC and FDA paused the use of the single-dose Johnson & Johnson vaccine in order to give health officials enough time to review the data.
What it means is that the system is working well to identify any potential threats.
Murthy says increasing awareness of the rare potential severe type of blood clot will save lives.
These clots are different from the traditional clots that people get that respond to blood thinners. They have to be treated in a different and special way.
Administration officials say the decision was made out of an abundance of caution.
We will continue to get supply out the door as soon as it's available.
White House Coronavirus Response Coordinator Jeff Zients says the administration is working to make sure anyone scheduled for a J&J vaccine appointment gets rescheduled for a Pfizer or Moderna vaccine.
This week, we will make 28 million doses of Pfizer and Moderna available.
And Dr. Anthony Fauci says right now the focus is restoring trust and confidence in the vaccines.
It should reinforce in those individuals how we take safety so seriously.
We want people to feel confident that the vaccines they're getting are both effective and safe. And that means having safety systems in place that can catch signals and investigate them when they arise.
In Washington, I'm Anna Warnicki.
Meanwhile, Governor Kim Reynolds addressed the national pause on the use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and also how it will affect Iowans who are seeking to be vaccinated during her weekly coronavirus briefing this morning. Governor Reynolds said she was surprised by the announcement and wished some more advance notice had been given to states so plans could have been reworked ahead of time. However, the governor said the impact to the state's vaccination efforts would be minimal.
We're working to allocate additional vaccine where it's needed and ask for Iowans' patience as we finalize these details. So even though Johnson & Johnson doses are on hold right now, we were already planning for a minimal supply over the next few weeks due to the slowdown in manufacturing that had been anticipated. So the immediate impact of this decision on our vaccine supply should be manageable.
And according to data from Siouxland District Health, less than 1% of eligible Black or African Americans have had a COVID-19 vaccine shot. One local church, though, aims to fix that. Siouxland District Health is now partnering up with Mount Zion Church and the NAACP. That's to help vaccinate underserved minorities here in Siouxland. They're holding a vaccination clinic Sunday, April 18th at Mount Zion Church. Transportation for those who need it will be provided by the church, and it's open to all Iowa residents age 18 or older.
And they reached out to us because we're a church, we're in the community, and when people reach out to the church should be willing to come alongside those agencies to do our part to help meet the needs of the community.
You can register by calling the number there at the bottom of your screen. Registration will be open until this Friday, April 16th. The Crittenden Center announced today they'll be closing their emergency shelter. That shelter opened back in the late 1970s and provided kids in crisis temporary refuge. The center had to temporarily suspend services this month after some COVID-19 related staffing shortages. The center says the pandemic has taken its toll on the hiring process, and they're no longer able to keep that shelter fully staffed. The shelter cared for roughly 180 kids last year alone. Time now to shift our attention to the weather. Meteorologist Marcus Beasley standing by. Marcus, I had to get back out my winter coat. This morning, temperatures felt like late winter.
That's right. A very chilly morning and really all day today, Sophie. We've had cool temperatures for this time of year. Most of us staying in the 40s all day long. 49 was our high temperature here in Sioux City, 48 in Norfolk, a high of 46 in Yankton, 48 in Cherokee, Lamars, and Storm Lake today for your high temperatures. Overnight tonight, we'll see temperatures drop down into the upper 20s and lower 30s. So again, another night with most of us dropping down slightly below freezing. It does look like we are going to stay on the dry side tonight, but by the end of the week, we could see a few sprinkles. Details on that in the 9 on 9. Sophie?
Thanks, Marcus. The officer accused of fatally shooting a 20-year-old black man in Minneapolis in a suburb is now officially charged with his death. Former officer Kim Potter has been charged with second-degree manslaughter in the killing of Dante Wright over the weekend. That shooting sparked more riots in Minnesota. Potter, who resigned from the police force yesterday, says she meant to pull her taser and instead pulled her gun during her confrontation with Wright. If convicted, she does face up to 10 years in prison. And here last Sunday during a gun show in Lamar's, nearly $5,000 was stolen from a couple of vendors, Jill and Steve Drugmiller. During closing time, Steve was gathering his things when his box of cash was taken right from his table. Steve has terminal cancer and has been saving up money to leave behind for his wife and 4 children. They asked for that money to be returned to the Sioux City Police Department. No questions will be asked. Coming up tonight at 6 and 10, you'll hear from Jill herself on how the loss has affected her family and what vendors should keep in mind if they plan to sell at upcoming shows. A leading mental health advocate in the state of Iowa hopes that last month's attacks that killed 2 employees of the Anamosa State Penitentiary will convince Iowa lawmakers to increase funding for mental health training within the prison system. Prison nurse Lorena Schulte and guard Robert McFarland died when corrections officers say that they tried to stop 2 inmates from escaping on March 23rd. Mental health advocates fear that the workers' deaths will only now add to the stress of other prison employees. For the past year, employees and inmates have dealt with concerns of COVID-19 spreading throughout their facilities.
Usually the first thing to go when departments have budget cuts is training. Well, as you might imagine, in the correctional system, training is pretty important.
Hubert adds that the governor's administration has shown interest in providing mental health training for the correction system. The governor, along with other Republican leaders in the House and Senate, have proposed an increase in overall funding for the Department of Corrections next year. Officials in the Rushmore state say that they saw a record number of deadly crashes last year. South Dakota saw 141 fatalities that came from 132 crashes in 2020. That's a 38% increase from 2019 and the highest the state has seen since they started keeping records back in 1947. The Highway Patrol says speed, alcohol, and a lack of seatbelt use were the main factors in all of those fatal crashes. Authorities add they plan to step up patrols as a direct response. The Nebraska Game and Parks Commission tonight is confirming a wolf was killed earlier this year in their state. The female wolf was shot back in January by coyote hunters near Yuling. That is in northeast Nebraska. Now, this wolf is only the 3rd confirmed in the state of Nebraska since the early 1900s. Genetic testing shows the animal came from a population of wolves found in the Great Lakes region. Well, demolition began early this morning on a former Sioux City elementary school. Morningside College is demolishing the building to make way for its new Ag Center. That will house new classrooms and a greenhouse. The Rosen Ag Center will be home to the college's expanding agricultural program, and construction of that facility could be complete by this coming fall. After 10 months of a deployment, the 113th Cavalry has come home to Siouxland. 90 Army National Guard troops from the Lamar's 113th Cav stepped off the plane at the 185th Air Refueling Base. That was earlier today. The troops spent about 10 months on deployment in the Horn of Africa and a short stint in Texas before heading back to Siouxland.
I can only just say thank you for their service to state and nation. What they and their families have done for Iowa and the U.S. is just, it's phenomenal.
The group then took charter buses back to their base in Lamar's to meet up with their families. Welcome home. And troops coming home, also a main topic of debate in Washington, D.C. today. President Joe Biden changing the withdrawal date from Afghanistan. We have the details coming up.
And it's looking like the cool weather's going to continue. We'll have a decent springtime weekend, and we'll have some slight rain chances mixed in as well. Details on all of that after the break.
You're watching KCAU 9 News with Sophie Erber and meteorologist Marcus Beasley. This is KCAU 9 News at 5.
Raising kids isn't easy.
Crittenden Center is here to help with the big stuff.
We're teaming up to make the day-to-day challenges a little easier for families in need.
Because every family deserves the chance to succeed.
We hope you'll join KCAU 9 News and Siouxland OBGYN for our 7th annual Stuff the Stroller Drive.
Drop off your donation of diapers and other baby necessities at local Hy-Vee stores.
Thanks to KCAU 9 support, we've provided supplies to thousands of Siouxland families.
Be sure to catch us live every Tuesday afternoon at select Hy-Vees. Thanks for sticking with us on this chilly Wednesday. Marcus, I was just talking about this earlier. We saw temperatures that touched 80 on Easter, so a couple weeks ago now, and today we had temperatures starting off in the 20s.
That's right, and it looks like we're staying cool here throughout the rest of the work week. Today was a cool day all around. We had temperatures today in the 40s for most of us. You look outside right now, it looks nice, especially when you take a look at the trees. We're beginning to see the green in the trees. The grass looks nice and green outside the KCAU 9 studio. Brought to you by the Port Neal Welding Company. Plenty of sunshine out there. But that's a very deceiving image right here because you step outside and you feel the wind and the cool air and you're like, wait, hold on. Is it really April? But it is. We're just experiencing some cooler temperatures out there. 49 degrees right now in Sioux City, 48 in Wayne and Norfolk, Yankton at 46, 46 in Orange City. We're experiencing 48 degrees in Lamar's, Cherokee, and Storm Lake right now. Currently 50 there in Carroll. So most of us very similar temperature-wise throughout the region. Wind chill values, those are in the lower 40s. Normally we would not need a wind chill graphic this time of year. We're going to stay in the 50s as we near the end of next week. So not much relief is if you're looking for warmer temperatures. And we are beginning to see some springtime images, some tulips here blooming. Thank you for sending that picture in to us in Blencoe, Iowa. That viewer sending that. So just a great picture. If you have any photos to send our way, SiouxlandProud.com is the place you can upload them.
All right, and the tulips might be confused with the weather that we had,
definitely.
but keep them coming. All right, thanks, Marcus. Well, a teacher in Alabama tonight is inspiring the next generation, showing them how to move forward literally. We'll show you how coming up, but first, President Joe Biden changing the date on when U.S. troops are being pulled from Afghanistan. The debate going on in D.C. tonight. Next. Welcome back. President Joe Biden today formally announced that he is ending the nation's longest war and plans to withdraw all remaining American troops from the country by this September. ABC's Mary Alice Parks has the latest from Washington.
President Biden today offering a solemn salute, paying his respects to American soldiers lost in U.S. wars in Iraq and Afghanistan at Arlington National Cemetery. Over the last nearly 20 years, more than 2,300 American troops have been killed in Afghanistan. The president's visit to Arlington coming after he announced from the White House that all remaining troops in Afghanistan would be home by the fall.
We went to Afghanistan because of a horrific attack that happened 20 years ago. That cannot explain why we should remain there in 2021.
More than 2,000 American troops are in Afghanistan right now. 18-year-olds serving in uniform born after the September 11th attacks. In the decade since the fighting began, more than 40,000 Afghan civilians have been killed. The cost of the conflict, $825 billion. The Biden administration arguing threats from the U.S. homeland have changed. The president saying the U.S. will keep providing humanitarian assistance and support peace talks between the government of Afghanistan and the Taliban, facilitated by the United Nations.
We cannot continue the cycle of extending or expanding our military presence in Afghanistan, hoping to create ideal conditions for the withdrawal and expecting a different result.
Still, some Republicans pushing back, saying the withdrawal of U.S. troops is a win for the Taliban.
We know that this kind of a pullback is reckless, it's dangerous, it puts American security at risk.
Admiral William McRaven, who led the team that killed Osama bin Laden, addressing the families who lost loved ones during an event with the Washington Post.
Regardless of how the war ends, their sacrifice has not been diminished one bit.
President Biden said he spoke with former President Bush about the decision. We know he also spoke with the president of Afghanistan, who said in a statement today that he respects the decision and will work with the U.S. to try to ensure a smooth transition. Mary Alice Parks, ABC News, Washington.
A woman with a bionic leg inspiring her students to push through adversity. We'll show you how she's doing it when we come back. An Alabama teenager is inspiring others with the way she's moving forward. This after an accident last year took her leg. We'll show you how she's staying positive through her recovery.
Ever since I lost my leg, I feel more motivated to do things.
August 15th started as a normal day for Bethany Phillips. She and her father hopped on a jet ski and headed to her grandparents' house. Then,
I remember getting flung into the water and not really knowing what was going on at all.
Bethany and her father were T-boned by another jet ski. Bethany suffered a broken leg which severed an artery. Her father, James, broke his pelvis and back. After several surgeries at Fort Walton Beach Medical Center, Bethany was transported for treatment in Birmingham.
I think the first option, I don't remember exactly what they were going to have to do, but it would save my foot, but I wouldn't really be able to do much with it. But I remember thinking, if I'm an amputee, I can still do basically everything.
After recovering from her amputation, Bethany was fitted with a prosthetic leg at Hanger Clinic in Fort Walton Beach.
And honestly, she's really surpassing my expectations and where we thought we might be at this point.
With her newfound mobility and support from her community, Bethany has starred in Choctawhatchee High School's production of Still Magnolias, and she eventually hopes to get back on the water again. Bethany hopes she inspires other amputees to be motivated and push themselves.
My advice would be no, it's gonna suck sometimes, but you can do basically anything. You can still do anything.
Taking a live look outside right now in Wayne. Marcus returns with one more check on your forecast, so don't go away. Before we wrap up here at 5, let's check in first with Tim for what's coming up at 6. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Sophie. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds today weighing in on the COVID vaccination situation here in Iowa. That comes in sight of the pullback, I guess you could say, the number of doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that will be issued. Find out what the governor's talking about coming up tonight at 6. Also ahead, another look at today's homecoming for dozens of local service members after several months at the Horn of Africa. Sioux Gateway Airport was a welcome sight for the men and women. We'll hear from soldiers coming up at 6. And homeowners will soon be heading outdoors, so working hard, no doubt, to get rid of those pests and weeds that pop up in the spring. But have you ever considered how your treatments could impact pets? It's something we're taking a look at and something people probably should take a closer look at and reconsider as they get ready to move into the summer months. We'll check that when I join you. Of course, that's all after World News Tonight.
All right, we'll see you then, Tim. Yeah, and a lot of people might even try, at least after this cold snap we're having, to get back out in the yard and do some real gardening.
That's right. Definitely not ideal weather to be outside, though, with the wind that we've had recently and the cool temperatures as well. It looks like tonight we're going to drop down to slightly below freezing, so another very cold night for this time of year. We'll see partly cloudy skies out there tonight. The good news, we'll have those winds. They'll calm down a bit to around 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the north. Tomorrow, it looks like we'll have clouds increasing, especially in the afternoon, a high of 51, so another chilly day tomorrow, but winds only around 5 to 15, so that's something to look forward to. It looks like a little bit warmer weather this weekend.
Lack of wind always makes a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Marcus. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great evening. We'll see you at 6. Good night.